As often happens in these tragic cases, Andrei Emelianenko was a lonely, isolated young man, shunned by his peers and spending his days lost in the dark world of video games and gore-filled internet forums. He found solace in the twisted, psychopathic character of Walter Sullivan, the main antagonist of the Silent Hill saga. Emelianenko confided in his classmates that, in some twisted way, he identified with Sullivan's madness and fantasism. It is truly chilling to consider the influence of negative media on the fragile psyche of a young person, leading them down a path of darkness and isolation. Before we start, if you find this video fascinating, then at the end, please drop it a like and let me know what you thought about the case. It helps the channel. Also, don't forget to hit subscribe for more. Thank you. Emelianenko had poor grades and a strange relationship with his health and safety teacher, Sergei Danilov. He struggled to thrive in the rigorous and strict classroom environment. As a retired army officer, Danilov was known for his strict and unforgiving nature. On the afternoon of November 1st, 18-year-old Andrei Emelianenko, a student at Moscow's West Complex Continuing Education College, brutally murdered his health and safety teacher, Sergei Danilov. What really sticks with me is the brutality of what happened that day and Andrei's documentation of it. The 18-year-old posted pictures of a gruesome crime scene on the internet, including selfies where he appears to be smiling while standing over the victim's body, holding the murder weapon. These actions are in stark contrast to what people who knew Emelianenko said about him. He was quiet, kind and withdrawn, said one of his former classmates, who knew him until 9th grade. Emelianenko was a quiet boy who never got into fights and rarely ever raised his voice. He always got along with the teachers and did well in school, but he was homeschooled after 4th grade. Some people said it was because of psychological issues, whilst others said it was because his family moved. The classmate says she remembers that he always said hello to other students when he came in for assignments, but he never really said much about himself. Boys at the school would sometimes bully him, so he started bringing a knife to school, although he never used it and never threatened anybody. Even though his friend paints him as a gentle person for the most part, there is something wrong if you are carrying a knife to school. His mother said that she did not see anything untoward in his behaviour. Andrei spent most of his time by the computer. He was a big fan of computer games. Andrei was in fact an avid online gamer. A girl called Margarita said, "We made friends online. He seemed to be a completely ordinary guy, with a good sense of humour." She said he had been translating a comic book called Bloodstain from English into Russian. Reading comic books was a big passion of Emelianenko's. He also enjoyed participating in a gore-themed internet forum. This forum is where at home he found solace. He would connect with other depressed, vulnerable teens. The internet has many positives, but it's dangerous in cases like this, where it serves to progress the decline. Most of what was written on the website was dark fantasies, but only that, a fantasy. A fellow user of the site said not long after the incident, a couple of months ago, he complained about his health and safety teacher, even saying that he would kill him sooner or later. But it is a common thing on our forum. Our guys often throw out threats to kill somebody, so we didn't pay it any attention. Emelianenko was a fan of the character Walter Sullivan from the Silent Hill video game series. Sullivan is a psychopath and religious fanatic who is the main antagonist of one of the titles. Despite this, Emelianenko often told his classmates that he felt connected to Sullivan in some way. It is important to note that it is not uncommon for people to be drawn to characters in fiction, even if they are not necessarily good role models. However, this was a sign of things to come. Identifying with characters who exhibit harmful behaviours may be a sign of underlying emotional or psychological issues. It's easy to say in hindsight, and by what people have said about him, no one really could see the whole picture of Emelianenko. He kept himself hidden, even on the Gore forum where he shared his fantasies. One member of the forum told authorities that Emelianenko had been including the hashtag 1117 on his posts. Chillingly, Andre committed the murder on the 1st of November 2017. The forum member continued. He began to write this number under his posts in our group for a while. Does this mean that he planned the murder long ago? I personally think yes. This was premeditated. I'm not sure why the teacher was the target. Although they never got on, it obviously did not warrant what happened that day. The incident came to be when Sergei Danilov became Emelianenko's form tutor at the beginning of the new year. A fellow student said, the teacher was always coming down on him in front of everyone, and the guy couldn't say anything. He was scared. It seems he overcame that fear. Emelianenko was getting bad grades and becoming further withdrawn from school and his real-life classmates. During lessons, he would watch video game walkthroughs, with first-person shooters being his favourite to watch. Emelianenko was said to have skipped classes for 2 weeks. Reports say that the teacher had warned him about expulsion for missing classes. On the flip side, an unnamed student said of the teacher, he was a very kind person. He was strict, but he was fair. He was like a father to us. I have no single bad thought about him. Regardless of what was happening, he was our support. He always tried to help us. If we ran into problems with teachers, he always tried to build bridges and help find compromise. He was beloved. Unfortunately, Emelianenko did not see things like his fellow students. The attack took place during break time after a lesson in an auditorium. Emelianenko came up behind Sergei and stabbed him in the neck. Sergei Danilov was bleeding out on the floor. Calmly, like this was totally normal for him, Emelianenko stood over the body and took several selfies. And he also took photos of the bloodied knife, which was used to stab Sergei. He posted these photos to the Gore forum and the Russian social media site VK. Emelianenko used an avatar of Walter Sullivan as his character profile, accompanied with a song called November's Doom, as well as the photos of the dead teacher. A member of the forum, to which Emelianenko belonged, said the hashtag 1117 was used. Emelianenko then goes further. He then poses with a circular saw, smiling with a toothpick like this is something to be excited about. He then shared this as well before brutally turning the saw on himself. Chillingly, all the witnesses say there was not a single scream from the auditorium during the ordeal. It was another teacher who walked into the brutal scene and first found the body of Sergei. Emelianenko's body was later discovered under a desk. Sergei Danilov was the father of 3 children, the youngest a daughter, aged just 1. The photos that Emelianenko posted were online for only a couple of minutes before being deleted and the student's profile closed by the website's moderators. Police later discovered that Emelianenko had been threatening to kill the teacher he hated for some time. The case caused a lot of international interest as it reopened the debate on violent video games and their impact on mental health, a debate that may go on forever. In my personal opinion, I believe that there is a good chance these games and being in Gore forums drove Emelianenko down a darker path than if he were never to have seen such things. But hindsight is a wonderful thing. And I believe for the vast majority of people, they are fine to see such things. And I don't believe it's right to sanitize all of society for a select few. I don't, however, hold the answers to the problem either. It is very complex, and cases like these for now will sadly continue to happen until we find a solution. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay sane.